Oh, look out. Welcome back. It is another episode, Facebook Live. I tell you what, the nerves are still there, these Facebook Lives. So you never know who's watching. We've got the Adam from Talking Para podcast is back after last week. He was sick. He still contributed well to the show. Ads, are you feeling all right this week?
I think I've been sick for about 4 weeks straight now. So how good's winter, eh? Like every time I shake one thing off, I get something else. So I got rid of the chest infection and my throat went this week, and now my eyes and nose are playing up. So is it September yet is what I want to know.
No. I just want to hold everyone up here because we've got royalty in the house. Last name is his actual uncles at the moment are feuding. Bloody Andrew and Matty Johns. Can you talk to us, Jeremy, about the uncles first and just let us know how they're doing and the feud? Are they talking yet?
There's definitely no communication between the brothers. I know that Uncle Andrew has left the radio show due to this feud. So Matty's holding in there strong though. But it's good to be back. I was able to be on the Talking Para podcast, and that was a lot of fun. I've got a different jersey on this time round. I'll try and leave the Newcastle chat out of it, though it is very hard.
Look, on this show, I like to just get the newbie to come on, just make an outlandish statement. So just let us know early on the team you hate the most.
I hate a strong word, but it's definitely Canberra.
Is that Ricky?
Rapana. It's Rapana. I can't. Hate's not a word I throw out too often, but geez, I enjoy seeing him get his head knocked off.
Yeah,
it doesn't happen too often, but Rapana's the one for me. He just gets under my skin.
I think a lot of rugby league fans agree with you for that one. We've all got the colours on, so let's get stuck in the Origin chat, shall we? And viewers, as you're listening, please post your questions through comments, and I'll get them up on the screen. We'll as we discuss it, I'll get them up, and we'll just talk about it. Let's talk about this blue side first of all. I think when it initially came out, once again, there was a few head-scratching moments with some of the selections. We've had a few days to read over it, calm ourselves down. Latrell, the big news today, is out of game 2. That is huge. Stephen Crichton comes in the centres, which was probably one of our best players, to be fair, for game 1, and I thought was unlucky to not miss out on at least a wing spot for game 2. Now he's sort of, the way things have fallen, he's got his retribution back. Adam, talk to us first about your initial thoughts about the Blues lineup.
Yeah, I'll touch on Latrell first. I thought it was, I know he needs some impact, but I thought it was a strange choice to actually pick him, given the fact he hadn't played a game. I believe he hadn't trained either. I think it was a bit of desperation there from Feddy. Interesting enough, as soon as Latrell went out, we blew out from $2.65 to $3. So shows you the effect we can have on the game, what the punters are thinking there. Look, obviously Crichton comes in. I agree Crichton was one of our better players, but we also gave him a lot of early ball and gave him the chance to be good. Defensively, I don't back him. I think if we're looking for impact, I probably would have brought Matt Burton into the centres or Campbell Graham, someone in form. Like, we rely so much on these Penrith boys, obviously, and that was one of our downfalls in the last game. I know Cleary's not there this week, obviously, next week, but as soon as you take Cleary out of the game and he starts playing like crap, the rest of the Penrith players do. So given we mixed up our halves, obviously, that could have an impact. But look, they've gone with Crichton with experience. He has won back-to-back grand finals. He was one of Penrith's best in the grand finals last year, so he needs to bring that big game experience, this must-win game. Obviously, on the halves, I'm stoked to see Mitch there, but not stoked to see Mitch there as well. Would have liked to play Parramatta this week. I just don't want to ruin his confidence. He copped a lot of shit and a lot of heat for that game he played in 2021. Played 70 minutes with a broken back, got 2 try assists, and was made out to be the villain because we lost a game in a series that was already decided. It's very hard to win a series 3-0. So, look, I'm happy to see him there. There's not really much else. I think it's good to see Paulo starting because I feel like he lacked impact off the bench. He's not that kind of player. Stefan, I'm not going to get his name right. Uda Kamanu. Look, once again, strange choice for me. I know I've spoken about this before, but I feel like it's just a product of the system. Freddie's had him involved in his system since he was about 18, 19, through the junior developments and stuff. Always had him earmarked as an Origin player. I sent this in a message to Jeremy during the week. I don't know what Daniel Safidi's done wrong. When Daniel Safidi got picked in Origin, I was like, why are they picking this bloke? He's average, but he hasn't played a bad Origin game. I'll say that his brother as well. His brother came in. I thought, what are they doing? They're desperate here. Are they actually running out Daniel or something? But he also didn't play a bad game. So to put Stefan over them was a strange choice. I think it's because RCG lacked match fitness, obviously coming back from injury. But that's pretty much all I've got to add. Like, based on the teams and the game, I think the combination of Moses and Teddy could bring Teddy back to some of his best form. Been mates for a long time, played a bit of football together. And I think the Moses running style will suit Teddy a lot more.
Jeremy, what do you got to add?
Yeah, just on what Adam said, I agree. I don't know what Safidi's done or upset to not get a look in there. I think he's been playing some pretty consistent football as well for the Knights. And he has proven that he can do it on the big stage. So, yeah, look, hopefully he has a good game. Question is, why isn't Liam Martin starting? Like, I think he is such a fantastic player, and they've gone with Hudson Young to start again. And he didn't have the best game for his Origin debut, but he also had, I think it was three penalties that he gave away quite early, and just put us on the back foot, just trying to overplay his hand a little bit. So I don't know, Liam Martin off the bench was huge, and we were a completely different team when he came on. I just think that him starting probably would have got us off on the front foot.
Do you think they're a bit nervous about his head knock, and if he will be right to go? First of all, we actually haven't been told if he is yet. And secondly, just to keep him out of that initial barge up. But as you said, Hudson Young was a bit of a liability, I thought, at the start. I think that was not a bit of fault for the coaching staff as well, who probably was in his brain a lot in the week in the media about bringing that real X-factor, aggressive type of player that we needed. Probably got to him a bit too much. But if he can settle that back a little bit, he's been in pretty good form for the Raiders this year. Is the Martin factor there with the head knocks a bit of a worry, you think?
It could possibly be. Another thing that I really hope for game 2 is that they don't just continue to attack down the Penrith side. I know they've got some great combinations there, and maybe with Mitch Moses being able to steer the ship a little bit, they might be able to go both sides. I know that they only kicked to the other wing where our points did come through the Penrith side, but I just feel as though we were really one end of the field that we could attack in when it came to being inside the attacking 20. So hopefully with Mitch there in the half, I'm excited to see him get another go. I rate his kicking game quite highly, and it's really hard to say as a Newcastle fan through and through. But I really admire Mitchell Moses' game as a halfback. So I'm quite excited to see him get another go at the big dance.
You might start to be getting that sickness that Adams had given para players a rap. Look out. I'm going to say my comments first on the halves, which I think is a good talking point there with all the chat that was around the three candidates. I think Moses was the standout, and I'm surprised there was so much talk and belief. Every poll I looked at, either Reynolds or Hines was in front by a mile, and it was literally daylight second, and Moses was nowhere near the picture. Now, I don't know what Moses has done so wrong to either the public perception or the media perception, but for mine, I know I'm a Para fan, but he was the clear second option as soon as Cleary is injured. He's done it before. He played through literally a broken back. Now, that's not something to be easy about. Like, he played through a game and can still set up 2 tries and controlled the game decently with a broken back. So he's done it before. He's played some big games over his last 12 months, a 24-month career with the Eels, with some finals matches and things like that. Hines, for mine, and I made a post about it earlier in the week, is not that ready for a halfback Origin spot, because simply, if you watched his games closely, his kicking game is probably his biggest weakness. He hasn't have a strong kicking game at all. And if we went up to game 2 with LOI and Hines as our halves, our kicking game, we would have been absolutely smashed. We're versing Cherry Evans, who's an absolute gun with it, and Munster can do some decent ones on his day. If we went up with those two, they're basically the same player. They like to run. They run first, and they go from that. So for mine, Hines was out of the picture, and because he was chosen as a 14, that's destroyed his career already for Origin, because for mine, he should have been the 5'8".
He's not a halfback. It's as simple as
no,
that.
he's not.
I said it last year. I'll say it again. I had big question marks about him when he came to Cronulla. Look, he proved me wrong. He got the Dally Player of the Year, but he's still not a traditional halfback. He's a 5'8/fullback, and for him to play Origin, I would have been quite excited for a combination of Moses and Hines. I think that would have been pretty exciting, but it's not going to happen because Luai was probably one of our best in game 1. The biggest problem I have is will LOI have the same trust and let Mitchell run the team? You want your half running the team, and I don't think he'll do that. And that's where I think we could line into some issues. Like Jeremy said, the left side Penrith play, the only plays we ran in game one were the Penrith set plays. So I don't know what Mitch has come up with Teddy and that right side. Obviously, there's no real combination. They played there a little bit before, but the only way we brought Turbo into play was crossfield kicks to him and expecting him to jump up and catch him, which they read perfectly well by having Munster run escort every time. So there are some concerns. I hope we win, but just for Mitch's sake, but I'm still sticking to my early prediction from weeks ago of Queensland winning the series 3-0.
Yeah, and right here, Hughesy does a really good point, and it's mine as well. I know he mentions that Tommy can pop up. He didn't do that in game one, though, and that was a real issue for mine. We didn't give Tommy anywhere near enough ball as we should have, and it was always, as you boys have already pointed out, towards that Crichton side. My worry is similar to what Adam is saying in terms of the fact that Penrith dominated the New South Wales side in game one when it comes to selections, probably the mood in camp, probably as we see in the game itself. Now, does LOI try and override Moses? It's not the right way to do it. If a lot of people have said LOI played well in game one, I personally didn't see his greatness as what people were talking about, but what he did do right was when he floated up here and there and was dangerous. And he should stick to that. He should let Moses do what he needs to do, control the side. Tommy, they need to get Tommy more involved. Now, Latrell, the only reason Latrell was still picked, I think we all knew he wasn't going to be playing this game. He was still not fit at all. And when you got two South trainers coming in to watch him train, I think that was pretty much the red lights flashing going, he's not playing. The problem there is you've got now one player that's not playing who would have absolutely put the fear of God into the Queenslanders. Does Crichton do that? No, he doesn't. I don't think he's that type of player. They need to give it to the player who would still do that in Tom Trbojevic. He needs to get himself more involved. Jeremy, how do we get Tommy more involved? Because I guess his body hasn't been holding up the greatest, but if there's a game he needs to explode, it's this one.
Yeah, well, we saw it in the Manly game this week. Just his ability to be able to float around the ball and be that support runner. And hopefully we can play a structure that allows him to be a second fullback, if you will. When people are making those tackle busts and getting those sneaky offloads, it's great to see Tommy in and around the ball. And the way that he's been shuffling across and just opening up those gaps as well, I think if he has the ability to do that, but it all depends on if we can get him early ball. If we can't do that, then Tommy's played out of the game again. And I just don't think there's any point trying to do those high kicks because it was squashed in game one pretty quickly. My question is, what's Matt Burton done wrong? I know he's had a quiet season. I know the Dogs probably aren't where they want to be, but if you look at him as a centre or even on the bench, he's a big body. He can play as a half, and those bombs that he puts up, I know everyone puts, the Burton bomb, but they are very effective. And if it's a game where that can be brought into play, then I just think that's an ace up New South Wales sleeve that just hasn't been played. So I don't know who he's upset either.
He should have been every Origin for the next 5 years for punching on with Jane Gagai, to be honest.
He should have been there game one. He was the 14 for mine. And the way they've chosen, I don't want to keep harping on about game one, but the way they've selected game one has really just stuffed them for the rest of this series because they can't go back too much on what they initially thought and didn't too many players' confidence. Like Pangai Jr., for instance, should never have been there to start with. So he's probably now shot for confidence, and it's probably no fault of his own. He's done how he's been playing last bloody 3-4 years. So, and that's my thing with Hines is that Hines should have been either the running 5'8" named game one or not in the team at all. And I heard Gallen say that time, the lead up to the game one selections, but it should have been like that. They've now, you can clearly see Hines has been so affected by what happened in game one, playing out of position. He should have made the tackle. There is no excusing that, but he just has not been played the way he's been playing the last 18 months. And the whole, I could go into it, I don't want to, but the whole Dally M argument of he was so good last year, he won the Dally M. The Dally M system's flawed. I don't like it. It doesn't exactly give you the best player completely. So that's a different story on a different day. I don't want to go too much into Queensland, but the difference here, I want to raise this with you both, is that Slater came out he didn't pick. He replaced Cobbo with Coates because Cobbo, he said, couldn't train enough in the lead up to the game. Where New South Wales is now carrying probably, it was initially 3 players who couldn't train. Now Latrell's out. It's down to 2 players. This is for mine at the moment, the difference between Freddie Fittler and Slater. Slater is literally just hard nosed. He just says, "This is Queensland passion. I'm selecting the best players available. Here we go." Freddie, we need to win this game. We need all players on deck, training the house down. He's already said the combinations are crucial, yet we've got 2 good key players for the team who can't train for most of the week. Where is how much of an issue, Adam, will this be heading into Wednesday night? Because New South Wales has already lost a day to Queensland with preparation because our side was selected a day later. We're losing so much valuable time on the training pitch for mine.
It's that old saying, if New South Wales don't get Origin, isn't it? And Queensland get Origin. Like we picked out of desperation trying to pick a team there that we thought could win the game. We never picked the best team. Like, we never have the balls to pick the best team. We never have the balls. We wanted Latrell there just based on the fact that, like the impact he could potentially have. Instead of going, right, let's pick someone like Campbell Graham, having him set in, giving him his Origin experience. Like, what's it done for Crichton's confidence? Saying, all right, you come in, but you only come in because Latrell was out. You're one of our best players in game 1, but you only come in because Latrell was out. I don't know. New South Wales are frustrating me this year. It's time for change. I'll be coaching New South Wales next year. This is my official announcement to run for it. I'll actually come up with some structured plays and actually pick the best team on the field. So,
Jeremy,
I think Freddie's just afraid to make a tough choice. Like, I think he likes to pick his mates. He likes to pick the people that the public will like. So Penrith were the hot team. So fill your team with Penrith. But Queensland, as Adam said, they just get Origin, and they have. And it irks me that they're still tagged as the underdogs. Like, going into this series, they were the underdogs. It just doesn't. Yeah. That doesn't make sense to me at all. Where they are so consistent, and their systems just seem so much better. Like, Billy has surrounded himself with some really great past players, and you could see on the footage from game 1 that Cameron Smith was actually giving the pre and post games chats to the team.
And half
to have someone like that, yeah, exactly, and to have someone like that, where most of the New South Wales coaching staff are caught up in commentary. And it is a shame because we do have such a good coaching staff, but something's just not gelling there. Something's not right, and we're not coming up with the right plans on the day.
Yeah, well, look, we'll quickly steer away from the Origin chat in a minute, but I just want to quickly go to this comment, and it brings up an interesting point. Is there any players, I want to ask both of you, that hasn't been selected for this game for either New South Wales or Queensland that you would have considered putting in the side, and who would you have replaced them with? Ads, you can go first.
I wouldn't have picked Gutho, not the centres.
Yeah,
we need to go away from picking players not in their natural position. We've done it for way too long because we're desperate to get good players into a team because we have options in other places where we don't pick the right player. I don't know. It's a bit of a hard one. Like the comment was made earlier about Reg. I think Reg is an Origin player. I know he pissed off Fittler last year and pissed off Cleary last year, but Cleary's not there for some hard truths, and he's never going to miss the point. I like Reece Robson as a player, but I agree with what you just said about having an actual 14 there. I probably would have gone someone like Burton, who appears to be an Origin player as well. We don't use our 14s. Damien Cook can play 90 minutes. Damien Cook's more chance of playing, 80 minutes. Playing 80 minutes than what?
Than Appy was.
Appy was, exactly. Appy's not an 80-minute player anymore. So it just made no sense to go, all right, Cook should have been there in game 1. We're that desperate to get Hines in and give him a chance. I wouldn't drop out Young, based on that comment. We spoke about it a little bit earlier, but Young just let the moment get to him, the hype of Origin, and he's an aggressive player. I know his background and where he's come from and stuff, and he was just hyped for it. He let the moment get to him, and that's why I was hooked to not come back on. It would have been pretty rough not give him another chance. If he comes out and does it again, drop him. But I don't know who else you bring in at the moment. There's no one else playing better football. The only other person I rumoured was Madison, but he's been out injured. Sean Lane was rumoured last year. Once again, being out injured, being in shit form. So we can't just keep picking players based on their teams going well the year before. We've got to start looking at individuals in the position they play and what kind of effect they can have on the team. This whole bringing club combinations to Origin thing needs to stop because I'm over it.
Yeah. Anyone for you stand out here, Jeremy?
It would just be back to the original choices of probably using Nico Hines better, and having Cook should have been there from the start. Cook, oh wait, that's soccer. Sorry, just reading the comment. Go the Lifeguards. We're undefeated currently. So, anyway, I think.
Sorry to put you off there, Jeremy. Sorry.
Yeah, as Adam said, picking players in their right position, picking players on form rather than just the team doing well. Gone are the days of having near 7 Newcastle players run a New South Wales team. I think it's time to start. Yeah, it's Penrith now, but we were good back then. It's time to start picking the players that are in form in the right position. And I agree with you with naming Latrell. That was a bit of a gut punch to Stephen Crichton, because I think everybody knew that he was never going to play because of his injury. And yeah, he was one of our best players in game one. So to not be named and get that recognition was a bit of an odd choice. So yeah, that's me.
Yeah, I agree there. And just finally, look, I know we've all got the Blues colours on, but Queensland, I just want to quickly say that the team once again looks probably even stronger than game one. That's a scary thought. They've got some even more skillful players in Nenai. Kafusi was probably a little bit unlucky, but he's been out for too long. I think Nenai's been in good form since he's been back for the Cowboys, and they've won a couple of games, which has helped his case and chances. We actually, and I know Jeremy mentioned it before, a lot of the bookies and that had New South Wales favourites, but on this channel, we all said the Queensland were the favourites for this series. We couldn't see New South Wales winning it. So that's coming into fruition. And look, we don't want to say we told you so, but we did. So listen to us. We know what we're talking about sometimes anyway. But let's talk some NRL news. And I want to go straight into the Roosters and the fact that they're cooked. The way they are going is deplorable, to put it bluntly. It's a side that was basically penned in to win the comp this year. That was talked about. Their signings are amazing. Brandon Smith was the key player they needed to make it to the premiership. Has not been the case at all. The player they let go for mine, Verrills, is a better hooker, and then they would have had him for a quarter of the price that they got Brandon Smith for. So there's plenty to talk about here. There's the fact that their signings haven't been quality and Rooster signings the last few years. I'm talking about Matt Lodge as well. I'm talking about Brandon Smith. The list can go on there. There's so much that their attack, they're the last place in the comp for attack. We all know the stat. It is, and watching their games, it is horrible. It's literally like they're starting, telling each other where to go, putting themselves in where to go, and already the play's dead. I feel for Jeremy. They're versing the Knights this weekend. So, Jeremy, just get ready to put a W down for your team. But I don't want to jinx them too much, but you can go first here. It's the team you're versing. No doubt you've looked into them a bit. Where do you think the Roosters are at the moment?
Yeah, as you said, they're definitely not the team that they had all the raps put on at the start of the season. And I'm still questioning, like, I don't know why the Brandon Smith hasn't worked. Like, he was effective the way that they used him in Melbourne, but then to go to the Roosters and just, I know he's had a few injuries, but it really hasn't worked, and it's quite disappointing because he was one of my favorite players to watch. He was just so energetic, and it feels like he's lost his spunk when it comes to playing football as well. So maybe there's something else happening in him. Look, just we are quickly,
I'll let you keep going. Just quickly on the Brandon Smith thing. Another point I want to raise was, as the rumours were around that the Roosters were signing him, there was a lot of people out there that were saying the Sydney lifestyle will not suit Brandon Smith. It's a danger. It's a really bad chemistry there. In Melbourne, perfect for him. He's away from the limelight. No one absolutely gives a shit about rugby league, so he can do whatever. He can just be in with Bellamy, basically give Bellamy shit. Bellamy lets him get away with it as long as he's out of the limelight. He was at Cowboys, up there at the Cowboys, the same thing. I know they're a rugby league mad town, but the media is not as bad. Sydney and was always going to be a dangerous mix for Brandon Smith to have his career go to that next level that everyone thought. I'd go on, but I just want to quickly raise that one.
Yeah. The player that I feel most for the Roosters is Connor Watson. I know he was really loved here at Newcastle as well, and that was a bit of a loss for us when he went. It was I just thought he was going to be in Newcastle for quite a while because everything about him just was Newcastle. So I'm just looking at the points conceded, and there's only 9 points between us, and we've actually conceded 9 more than the Roosters. So defensively, it's probably not. Well, hopefully, it's going to be a better game. But touching on last week, it's just quite clear that Newcastle don't have a leader on the park. So I was watching the game with Adam last week against the Broncos, and on the very last play to not pack a scrum and take half the team out of the play and try something that way, to take a quick tap and go absolutely nowhere with the game on the line. It's just quite clear that we don't really have that leader that we need to get us through those tough times. And Ponga is a great player. He's probably a great person, but I don't think he is the best person to be running that team at the moment. And someone definitely should have. I know if I was the halfback in that team, I would have been ropeable that we didn't put on a set play from a scrum with the game on the line. So, look, hopefully the Knights get up. It'd be nice for a home game to beat the Roosters there, but yeah, time will tell. But the Roosters have been quite disappointing this season.
Sounds like the Knights are crying out for someone with the last name Walker, who was dropped by the team you're versing this weekend, which would be not bad. And on that, Adam, I think since they've dropped Walker, they have been atrocious. They've actually gone downhill. We're all sold by Robbo the fact that it improved their attack, it improved the flow of the team. It's done the opposite.
Yeah,
he's the scapegoat. It seems like just drop him. Like he's the problem.
Yeah.
I'll say this much: put a fork in them because they're done.
Overcooked.
Done because look, for me, the biggest issue at the Roosters, and they were my team to win the comp at the start of the year, like others, is Cooper Cronk. Cooper Cronk being involved in their coaching staff has made a lot of strange calls and a lot of decisions there. He was the one that dropped Walker when, to me, Keary lacks the confidence to play first-grade football anymore. He's had that many head knocks. He's one head knock away from retirement, we know that, but he really belongs in the Super League now. So there lies your first issue. They've taken out on a young kid who they put on big money and put big expectations on straight away when they didn't have the balls to make the call on Keary. So there lies their biggest issue. Look, Tedesco, I know he's not playing this week, but Tedesco's past his best. And as you said, Brendan Smith, look, I'll make a call on Brendan Smith now. Before his contract's up, he'll leave the Roosters and go to the Warriors.
Ooh.
That's my call. They'll let him go. They'll cut their losses.
Write that down.
Yeah. But look, for the Roosters, I think what they need is they need to start giving some more back third-party deals to attract some more players. I don't think there's enough money floating around the club. So if Uncle Nick could organise that, they might actually win a comp. But it's just proof. You can't buy a comp in the modern game, can you? Let's look at Penrith.
No.
Like, I hate Penrith with a passion, but I hate Gus Gould with a passion. Look at what Gus Gould did for Penrith. Their junior system, last year, they won every single grade the whole way through to the NRL. That's all you need to do in football. You can't go off and buy players and expect combinations and come and expect to win a comp. You can bring in the best coach you want. You can bring in the best assistant coach. You can bring in referees, techniques, all this kind of stuff. The wrestle. It starts with the juniors, and the Roosters juniors have sucked for years, and they're starting to see the effects of that.
Look, the Roosters, and Jeremy might not have seen this post yet, so we'll quickly fill him in. The page has a list at the moment. It's the list. It's proudly brought to us by Chris Jericho, and it's about teams that concede 50 points or more.
He's more than familiar with my brother's status every time.
Nick Martin's on that one pretty quickly.
We all know that it's a dreaded rule. So far, the teams that cannot win the comp: Canberra Raiders, first off the rack. See you later. Canterbury Bulldogs, well done on your rebuild. Gone. North Queensland Cowboys, gone. Keep going with your form. You can't win the comp. The Dolphins, fairy tale's over. We're going to get to that, but you're gone. And the Cronulla Sharks, a lot of people are still tipping them to be a smoky for the comp. You can get out of the door. They're done. They're cooked as well. So I know if you like eating shark out there, but they're done as well. So
can we add the Roosters to it this week?
The Roosters were close, and can the Knights do it? Who knows?
Well, you think there's still a chance.
I'm looking through it, and the Knights, their last home game, they scored. Wasn't their last one? Was the one they played the Gold Coast? How many points they scored, Jerry? It was like 46 or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was quite a few.
46. So they've scored 46 already this year. against the Roosters team without Tedesco, with no Knights players being picked in Origin,
And
the
no
Roosters might
confidence
make
at
the
all.
list. I'm confident the Roosters are going to make the list this week.
Look out. Just
But
quickly
that
on
means
the
the
list.
Knights are going to win the comp. You don't live in Newcastle. If the Knights got 50 points, they're going to win the comp.
Mate, we're $1.55. We're a shoe-in.
Oh, you don't like being favourites either. I know that about the
No.
Knights. They don't like it at all. Just on the list quickly, the Cronulla Sharks were the last team added to it. They got demolished by the Storm. Always a danger game heading down to Melbourne after they've been pumped themselves, but it was just they didn't turn up at all. They got beat pretty easily by themselves the week before, so no excuses there. They should have been just as hungry to put up a performance, and I think this goes into the Hines argument for New South Wales a little bit, where Hines can't do it all himself. They're missing a halfback, and I know Adam has said this before, and I agree with it. They need to switch the halves up. Moylan needs to go. It needs to be Hines to 5'8", Trindle to halfback. Adam, just on the Sharks quickly, where else is it gone so wrong so quickly for the Sharks?
I'll just say thank fuck it wasn't us this time. Last time Melbourne took an absolute smashing. We played them the week after and got 64 put on us at Magic Round. So thank God it was someone else's turn. I don't think Cronulla did too much wrong besides lacking a bit of confidence. Look, we know they can't beat any top 8 teams. I think they're too attacking based and their structure's too flamboyant. And as we said, they haven't got that settled half. So it's a no-brainer to bring Trindle in. It means Moylan probably gets shipped overseas because I don't think anyone else is going to take him. Knights might. But I don't know. I don't know where else he can go, like maybe the Gold Coast. I'm trying to think of clubs that could use a half. I can't really think of one that could actually use a player.
Tigers at the moment.
Tigers will take anyone.
Yeah, well, Brooks is going to North Queensland, isn't he? So
no, they've ruled that out.
Really? So Townsend's not going to Super League. So
they've ruled it out.
I have a thing here, Jeremy, where I like to ship everyone to the Super League when I think the time is done. So instead of that, they come play in the Newcastle Rugby League for the Matt Punky Pickers. So
and win a comp. I think the scary thing from that Melbourne game on an Origin point is that all of the Queensland Origin players played really well. Harry Grant had probably one of the best games of his season. Munster was just dominating with Jerome Hughes. Yeah, career. Munster was just dominating with Hughes in the half, skipping across and creating holes wherever he felt like it. The telling sign for the Sharks was the lazy defence in the middle third. They were just able to cut holes through there with ease, and it just they were lacking all over the park when it came to that game. But Melbourne, they can turn it on when they want to.
Harry Grant had 25 runs for 201 metres, 3 offloads, 2 tries, 1 try assist, and 7 tackle breaks. That's an incredible stat for a hooker. You won't see that in a game of rugby league very often.
That's just made us.
Me on my conversions, Nick Meaney, 8 from 9. I'm telling you, you get someone that can kick goals, which Moses I think is at a pretty good percentage this year.
Not when it matters.
Not when it matters. Well, if the Knights had someone that could kick goals, we would have won 3 games, like an extra 3. So conversions is really underrated and quite a good skill set to have for your team.
It's a scary thought to have leading into Origin that Harry Grant has a wow of a game and he's still on the bench for Queensland. Wait till that impact comes off the bench. Goodness me. The Dolphins, I know it's fins up. It's been a great start to the year, but I'm going to be the party pooper here and say, has the air been let out of the balloon? Is it time to watch the Dolphins slippery slide down the ladder and say, you know what, good start to the year, get into planning for next year, add a few more signings, and they'll be the top 8 side that we all know they probably no doubt will be next year. Where's it gone wrong here for the Dolphins, Jeremy? The last couple of weeks for mine, not saying it's completely wrong, it's just the last couple of weeks has been a totally different side to what we seen at the start. I know there's some injuries at play, but that's been the question for them from the start, is their depth would have been an issue for them leading into this competition. We're now seeing that, aren't we?
Yeah, absolutely right. That's where their Achilles heel is, if you will. There's a couple of suspensions on the trot, and they've really had to reach down to the bottom of the barrel. And they've come up against a red-hot Manly side who, again, just decided to turn one on. I wish they could be consistent, because there's nothing better for the competition than a strong Manly side.
Oh, hang on. We'll finish you off there. Thanks. Don't give Manly that kind of rap.
Hey, that's coming from a Knights supporter as well. We hate Manly. But I really hope the dream isn't over for the Dolphins, because I can admit I've jumped on the fins up train, and that's definitely one of the games that I pencil in every week to watch is the Dolphins, because when they're on it, they're quite exciting. And the Hammer, when he's on fire, he's really good to watch and playing out of position as well. So
a big worry for the rest of the year for them is the fact that Tom Gilbert's gone. He was such a leader for that team. We've seen it from the start of the year, and he's been such a big loss for the Cowboys as well. I think the reason why they've started so poorly is a big reason is because of Tom Gilbert, but that's a massive loss for this run home. Adam, can you see him pulling up and going again for this last 10 or so weeks we've got left?
Look, it's limp fins, isn't it? It's been fins up now. It's limp fins, but I don't know. Look, I wrote them off weeks ago, and they proved me wrong, and they just kept turning up. Like the amount of injuries they had, we always knew for a new club their depth was going to be their issue. Obviously, they've got that Queensland Cup team that's been going for a while, Intrust Super Cup, whatever you want to call it, in the Redcliffe Dolphins they can rely on, but it was always going to be their issue, that depth. I won't completely write them off. Well, they can't win the comp, obviously, because they can see the 50 points, but having Wayne Bennett there and the coach, I think, is capable of anything, but they probably need to start preparing for next year with some of these young players and some of these cup players, because they've had their fairy tale, the run's over, fins down, unfortunately, and everyone that jumped the bandwagon, you can now jump back to your team.
Yeah, guys, we're getting closer and closer to the end. We'll have some questions probably about the next 5-10 minutes. So get your questions in, anything footy related to league or NRL, Origin, whatever you want to talk about, throw them in the comments and I'll get them up. I want to talk now about Adam's favourite subject. He's personally requested this one, so I'm going to let him just take over and just start him off with weekend's confusing decisions.
I thought we got rid of the hip drop. I thought it was gone. And I thought we weren't going to see our suspensions. And the problem I'm starting to have with the judiciary is we're basing suspensions on the injury caused to the player. That Christian Welch hip drop was not a hip drop. He come in, he had lost his footing as he grabbed the player. Accidents are going to happen in the game, yet he's been done for hip drop and suspended for 1 week and misses Origin. So it's just... I'm just sick of the inconsistencies. Like, I've been saying this for a week. I don't care if referees make mistakes, but we got 2 players sin bin for having a fucking water fight in a game. A water fight. Like, honestly, like, it's
bring back the beer.
Like, why can't someone punch someone? Like, if you knew you were going to get sin bin for splashing water at someone and then get a fine for it, wouldn't you just hit the bloke? Like, this game's just so stupid and so soft. And as we said, like, they were sin bin for instigating it all in. Well, it wasn't even all in because there was no punches thrown. It was all in handbags. Yet Burton did the same thing in the Parramatta Bulldogs game. He probably
did worse, to be honest.
He come up like it was across like this after the whistle had already been blown, which instigated it all in. Yet Burton wasn't sent to the bin. Like it's just, I don't know. I'm done.
Well, speaking of elbows, Adam, our mate Tino, he's broken 2 jaws.
Well,
how's he still on the field?
Well,
let's talk about that one. That is, there for mine. That's a horrible decision, and
he's done it
2 weeks in a row.
Jared has grazes has been doing it for years. He ruined Denny Badiris' last game. We were there with a clear elbow. It's something that's never really been brought into the game. Yet now they're starting to look at it. Like Sivo got done for it as well. And it was Sivo's was more obvious than he just went straight up bang because their players have been getting away with it for so long. Like, but what
if Sivo's was a sin bin, I wouldn't have complained at all being a supporter. I actually thought he got lucky getting away with that one.
There's so much stuff you can get away with in attack, but like I said, we need to go back to 2 referees. We're policing too much. The referees can't watch stuff, and they're missing some pretty obvious shit. And I feel sorry for the referees, even though I've just bagged them out, because there's too many rules. There's too much they've got to watch. And like I said before, the bunker either needs to call one thing or call nothing. Because at the moment, all that's happening is fans are getting frustrated. Let's talk about one other. I haven't watched Annesley's press conference this week because I'm sick of him admitting to errors, admitting they got it wrong, and then watching the same thing happen to your team 2 weeks later. I didn't actually see a lot of football across the weekend because I had a pretty busy weekend, but I'm just going to touch on the Parramatta game and the Bailey-Simonson, and we have not been able to get the obstruction rule right for 15 years. 15 years, and we've still got like just blurred vision in the game. So apparently you can't stop in the line, okay? But you can run through the line. But if you run through the line and then they move, you're not running through the line, you're obstructing someone. Does anyone know what you're meant to do?
I'm
Yeah, if you run through the line and the defence makes contact with you and falls over, then it's obstruction.
Yeah, so
and it can take the smallest touch and they die and fall on the ground. It's obstruction.
And the 60-kilo halfback's going to tackle the 100-kilo winger that the 110-kilo prop couldn't get near. It's just the game. There just needs to be more common sense in the game. So what do we want players to do? Run through the line, curl up in a little ball like this, and just go, oh, don't touch me now. Like, fuck, just put tags on everyone. Make it easier.
Jeremy, any decisions over the weekend you want to either go a bit more in depth about that's been mentioned, or you want to talk more on the Tino one? Because I think that's...
Oh, look, the Tino one just irks me. Like, what he did to Appy was pretty violent, and I don't know if it's because, like, he has the ball in his hands that he's getting away with it, but there's still got to be player safety brought into consideration. He's making clear contact with the head. It's forceful. If he's in defence and that happens, it's 10 in the bin and on report. But because he has the ball in his hands and he's put his bumpers up, as they say, but he has made clear contact with that jaw, maybe you can put it down to poor tackling technique, but the players are taught to wrap up the ball. So if he's holding the football on his chest, that's what they're going to go for. I feel as though that he's getting away with it way too much. And if we are about player safety, then that definitely has to be looked at, because if not, we're going to have more players off for surgery with their jaws.
I like
the way he plays. Yeah, I like his aggression. I like what he can do to lift a team in the time of need, but you can't be breaking people's faces.
And Braithen has to Braithen has to point it out on an RL360. I think it was last night, the night before. He actually showed both clips, because he had Tallis and another journo telling him that he doesn't mean it, Tino. But you can literally see Tino looks up, sees it, and then he puts his arm up in a way.
Oh, he's lined it up for sure.
It's either the bumper bars, whatever they want to call it. It is definitely intentional. And the fact that it's Origin, if it wasn't Origin, if this was a normal club game, I guarantee you he would have been suspended for at least a week for at least this second one, because it's been 2 weeks in a row. But it's because it's Origin. Another point on this, while we're talking about decision, I want to talk about the head knock quickly, and the fact that the NRL at the start of the year has spoken out so much about how they're behind the head knocks. They want to put player safety first, all that sort of jazz. In the last 3 weeks, we've seen 2 players now, it's looking like, escape this all of a sudden stand down period, which doesn't seem to concern certain players. Turbo was one who was rushed back, and now we're probably going to see Liam Martin rushed back as well, because both are Origin players. Now, you can't tell me if they weren't Origin players, they would have got this leniency and they would escape, and their minds for somehow quickly recovered from this whole HIA stand down. I think it's 11-day stand down period, but it's just shocking to know that the game cared so much about it to start the year and is so pedantic on it, to now we're not even worried about the stand down period. Like, I'm not a lawyer, but this is dangerous territory for the game, I feel like, moving forward.
Do you think the Origin pay packet is what they're thinking will cover it?
Yeah. But look at America. As you said, what could happen in the future? It's starting to happen in the AFL as well. All these concussions and the people suing years later. I know in America you can sue because your Macca's chip was too hot, but it's going to get to that point one day, and the NRL is going to sit here and say they didn't do enough. The interesting one was the Reid Marnie one, because he come back from back-to-back head knocks. I'll put this very simply. The NRL wanted Reid to play to put bums on seats for a Parramatta Bulldog rivalry.
Yeah.
There's no doubt that's why they wanted him to play. They didn't want him ruled out. I'm glad he played. He was fucking terrible again. But for me, that's all they wanted. Like, they don't care about player safety. They care about tickets. They care about money. And it's pretty obvious to watching that game, they wanted the Bulldogs win so they could build it for next time.
It didn't happen. Unlucky NRL. Let's before we get to some questions, let's go to our weekly multi segment. We haven't got one yet. I'm sorry, guys. We're still eating meagre noodles over here, or baked beans if they're on special. I say that this is the week. I can feel this is the week. I'll go mine first, and what I've gone for to try and get us a winner, I've just gone teams to win. Okay, so I've picked 4 teams this week who I think will win the game. My team has been okay so far this year, so let's see. First one, I've gone Penrith to beat the Cowboys up there. I just feel like they've still got enough quality over the park, and we've seen Penrith players just be able to get on and do the job. The next one, I'm sorry, Jez, but I've gone the Roosters in an upset. I just think Marnie back at fullback could probably be the best thing that's happened to them in a long time. We've seen his best football at fullback. And I feel like with Tedesco, there's a chance here for the Roosters to sort of play with a bit of the shackles off in a way, even though everyone's talking about him. They can literally just get on the field and play footy. And that's led with Manu, and I feel like they could do a job. And especially as we've seen, Marju not getting on the bus? That's crucial. So no Marshy on the bus. He's gotten off. I didn't know Ivan Cleary was up there, but he's off the bus. Parramatta Eels. I think Parra do just enough to beat Manly, and then I've got the Storm to just be too classy for the Tigers. They've lost their 7 and 9, so they've got no. I can't see where the Tigers score a point. To be honest, they got Stafford Toa at 6. So I'm a bit worried where they get points this week. So that's mine. And look, you're probably thinking, that doesn't get us much, but $9.40. So not bad for 4 teams to win a game. Ads. I won't go to Jezza yet. Go. Ads.
We're going to do his on the spot, but I've actually changed mine. I've added an extra leg in after talking. So I'm calling this the fullback into the win origin, fullback into the win multi. So I've done 4 same game multis into each other. So they're only 2 legs.
Struggle to put this up.
So 100%. You need an accounting degree to understand this one. I've gone Parramatta to win into Clint Gutherson anytime, into Melbourne to win into Nick Meaney anytime, into Cronulla to win into Will Kennedy anytime, into the Knights to win into Ponga anytime. So
that'll only get you $5.
I'm already winning $60 million tonight. I'm waiting for my phone call. It hasn't happened yet, the Powerball. But for a lazy $10 with the power play, you'll get $441.23 back. It's not bad, eh? And
that's good.
If you think about that, like Gutho's in try scoring form, Meaney's playing the Tigers, Will Kennedy's playing the Dogs. And Ponga is playing the Roosters, where I think he'll come out and have an absolute wonderful game.
I hope so for Supercoach.
So that's actually for $441. I only put $44. I put 10. I might have, if I can get a couple of wins before that kicks off, I might have a bit more on that one.
Look out, Chinese ping pong. We're coming your way to build the bank account.
We're coming your way with an 18-legger tomorrow.
Jez, do you have something for us? I know you're not a big gamble man.
Look,
and everyone, by the way, gamble responsibly. Bet with your head not over it. I've got to say it.
I like to watch Adam lose his money. That's my interest there to gambling. So I've got Adam. Are you going to put this in as I'm doing it?
Yeah, so let's go very slowly.
We're going to start with the Newcastle game.
Yep.
Newcastle to win.
Yep.
Ponga anytime and Dom Young anytime.
Who anytime?
Ooh.
Ponga and Dom Young.
Yep.
Because I reckon Dom will want to just prove to the Roosters that he's going to be a good signing for next year. And then I've got Parra to win.
Yep.
And Ryan Campbell-Gillard anytime.
Regan Campbell-Gillard, yep.
Yeah, what did I say? Ryan. Regan. Sorry, Regan.
Yep.
It's good.
That's it. That's what I've got.
That's your multi?
Yep.
Right, so that's 26-25 with a power play of 28-81. Jamie, I'll have a 10 on that for you and 5 that can be yours. And for that, we'll get a total of $288.12 back. So that's $144.06 each. I'll let you have the $144.12 because
you boys are staying in penthouses for the next week. Well done.
In Newcastle, we can do whatever we want for $144.
We're gonna get to question time now, guys. So you got 10 minutes to get all your questions in. I'm going to go to the first one here. I'm not sure if this is serious or not, but we will answer it. What's a multi? Go to your local sports agency. It's just basically putting a couple of bets on.
Trust me, he knows.
G-Man, that's
He
what I
knows.
asked before we got on. That's what I
Yeah,
asked before
well
we got
done.
on.
He knows how to gamble non-responsibly.
Just on the Origin front, we'll answer this one. Stags in the centres. Do you reckon he was a actual possibility?
I actually, he was a player I was thinking about the other day that forgot my mind until that popped up. That is the only out and out centre in our game for New South Wales that I would be picking. Like I said, Crichton doesn't bring any fear. You said that. For me, Stags in the form he's in, he could be an Origin player. It's been floated around for years and never been given the chance because we'd rather pick fullbacks in the centres. Anyway,
he was picked once, but this I'd argue at the moment he's in better form than he was picked last time he was in the side.
Yeah.
He's been bloody consistent too, Katoni. So that's that's a really good question.
Yeah. What about which Arthur wins? I'll let the neutral fans answer this first. Jez, who you got for the Arthur versus Arthur the Baldy, as we've heard?
I only
Jake
just saw the comments that that Dad has made around it, something along the lines of "we're going to smash him," which I love that. That's great.
Yeah, bring it.
So I'm going with Brad. They're going to smash him.
Oh, look out. Obviously adds Para. You're going to go Para?
I think Arthur will win.
Yeah, nice.
No, look, I think the mind games need to start. Young Jake started that by calling him Baldy's worried, and obviously Brad's return serve. Brad, we know how handy your daughter can be. I'd be getting those prank phone calls to be going all Friday night. Every half an hour, all Friday night.
Oh, how good. We've got one here just on Moses. Do you think Moses has what it takes to take New South Wales to a victory? I'll say going up to Suncorp, it's going to be hard, but if there's ever a game he's going to do it, it's this one where they're given no chance basically by anyone to go up there and win it. We've already heard the stats. I don't think Freddie's actually lost a game too since he's been in charge. I believe I've heard that stat correctly today. He's a guy, Moses, where you'll be able to tell early on if he's on because let him take a penalty goal in the first minute. If he gets it, he's on. If he misses, you already know he's going to be off for the night. So
just watch the post. Please watch the post.
Just watch out.
I still hear that sound.
I feel like Moses could do a job and could actually get Blues to he was the best choice for mine. Jez, what do you think, Moses?
It just depends if he's allowed to run the football team. If he is, then he can have his say on it and we can see the ball actually go both sides. There was the argument of Reynolds playing at home. So for him to play at Suncorp for New South Wales, Reynolds has been in some really good form. He is very hot and cold as well. But it has been enjoyable seeing the Broncos play well consistently. I think that's good for rugby league when the Broncos are playing well. But if Moses can take control of the team and we can see that ball go side to side, then yeah, I honestly do. And his kicking game, I highly rate. And again, that's twice I've had to say that, and it hurts. So yeah.
Well, 4 or 5 years ago, I would have said no to Moses playing Origin. I think he lacked the maturity as a player. The finish to his sets wasn't good enough. He didn't know how to build pressure. Joey Johns came into Parramatta and did a lot of work with him. I know Mitch came out and credited a lot of it to what Brad Arthur's done, but we really saw a change in his game where Joey was involved. Joey obviously being involved with the New South Wales team, I think is going to get that confidence and belief back in him. And for me, he needs to stick to his natural game, which is kicking the team out of trouble. I can't wait for the New South Wales fans that don't watch Parramatta games to go, why is he kicking the ball straight down their throat every time? Look, his name's escaped my friggin', what's the Cowboys coach's name? Gareth.
Todd Payton.
Todd Payton. Where's Gareth coming from? Anyway.
Gareth Ellis.
Gareth Ellis, I think, yeah. Same ball bloke. He come out weeks ago and pretty much that Parramatta Cowboys game and said, what can we do when we're pinning them in their own 30 and Mitch is landed inside our own 10 on a dime every time? That's all he needs to do. Just kick it to, I'd be kicking it to Coates because he's got an error in him. Pin him down there and just play a natural game and don't be afraid to run the ball. We didn't see him run the ball in the last Origin he played, obviously due to a broken back, which I still think is a bit soft. I just want to highlight, I had the same injury last year and played 6 weeks like it. But anyway, I obviously didn't play at that level. But look, I think he does have what it takes. But I'll say this now, if they don't win, it'll be his fault.
Yeah, no doubt. We're all prepared for it as para fans. It always happens. But I agree. Moses' running game is so underrated. When it's on, and we've seen it lately, he's such a good runner of the footy. It's really, really dangerous part of his. I know his kicking game is amazing, but I love watching him run the ball when he's on. So got one on Luke Brooks. He's been around the media. He has said no to the West Tigers. We know. I think there's still a chance there that he could end up staying at the Tigers. But what's his realistic options? I think there's the Bulldogs. I think there is the Cowboys who have said today they're not interested. I think Townsend's probably saying he wants his salary cap money. He's on some pretty good money up there. I think the Knights might be sniffing around, and Jez might be able to tell us a bit more about that. I think they're still interested in him. I think it's been 3 years now. I've heard whispers about the Raiders. The Raiders might be as well, but I don't know what's happening there with Fogarty. And obviously the other one's Super League. I feel like personally he needs to go to Super League and just enjoy some footy for a few years of his career. Get away from the NRL media. Get away from the constant scrutiny and pressure. I've spoken to a couple of players lately with some interviews who have been and played in the Super League and have said it was their best part of their career because they got to just go and play some footy and they didn't get scrutinised for every single thing that they did. I just feel a bit sorry for Luke Brooks now. I know he's taken the money, he was happy with the money, but he just hasn't performed. And I feel like having at least 2 or 3 years away, he still probably could come back after that. But just to get away for a while, I feel like Super League for him would be the best bet. Boys, got another option?
Well, I felt sorry for Luke Brooks ever since he's had the Andrew Johns label put on him. Like he was a young kid being told he's going to be the next Johns. And that just set him on the downward spiral from there. Like he's a quality player, but I think there's going to be an opening at the Dragons because over in the Super League because if you read the media, Mitchell Pearce is coming back to the Roosters, so he's the Lord and Savior of Bondi, so he'll be back. So there's going to be an opening for Luke Brooks to go over there and have a bit of fun and enjoy his footy.
We didn't even mention that. We didn't even mention that about the Roosters. But how bad is that? If they're going that badly, they need to get Pearce back. He's 34 years old. He'll be 35 next year. Goodness me. Ads, where do you see Brooks going?
I think he nailed it. I think Canberra's probably his best option if he doesn't go to the Super League. Obviously losing White and they're looking for a 5'8". I hope they spend money on him so they don't try and sign Saunders from us. But it's the only real option besides that I would say, look, if I was the Knights, I'd be keeping away from him because the Hastings and Brooks combination worked so well for the Tigers last year. They come last. So I wouldn't be doing that. I wouldn't be looking at going to the Dragons. I know they've been shipping like this if in the Dragons because we all know that Kyle Flanagan's going to end up there. And really, there isn't much else options for him, is there? So, as I said, go enjoy your footy, go to Super League, get a good paycheck. He'll kill it over there. He'll absolutely kill it over there.
He'll get man of steel, 100%.
100%. He's adapted his running game in the last probably seven weeks. Ever since that Parramatta game where he caught a lot of criticism the week before. If he takes that running game over there, he'll absolutely carve them up. But, it'll just be sad that after all these years, the big four have finally left the Tigers. Woods, Tedesco, Moses and Brooks. The one they picked was Brooks, and he's finally going to leave.
If he does go to Super League, I don't gamble responsibly, obviously, but put your house on the fact that he'll get man of steel next year. They will absolutely love him.
I'll put my multi-win from this week on it.
Kyle Flanagan, will he follow his dad to the Dragon? There's obviously been a little bit of talk. If you watched on Monday, there wasn't much to do, so I watched reserve grade. Unfortunately, as a Para fan, he carved up, and I believe he's been really good at hooker since he's been there for the Bulldogs. It's obviously in reserve grade, but he has been a class above. If it all depends, I know Hunt's going to stay there now. I'm not too sure. I feel like this, I've always said it, I think the father-son combinations are a dangerous one, and to steer clear of it as much as you can, it can get really awkward. Clearys are a different beast just because of how good Nathan is, and I don't think Ivan has much to do with him at all just because of his natural talent. Jez, do you see Flanagan at the Dragons next year?
I do, actually. I think that he will go there to play some consistent footy, and not just because Dad's there, but I think the Dragons will end up needing someone of his ilk.
Hooker or half?
I think it'll be half. I reckon it'll be in the half there. So yeah, I do. I see him in the red V.
I think Flanagan needs to say to Ben Hunt, you're a 9 or you're out. Ben Hunt was the best 9 in our game, and he refuses to play 9 for his club. He can play 9
But
for his
plays it
club.
plays it rep.
Is it the pay packet?
Origin for Australia, but he won't play it there. He needs to go to 9. Look, Flanagan played his best footy at Cronulla when he first come in with his dad there. So it's probably a smart choice for him to fly back to the Cooper, whatever they say. So just quoting things, I don't know what they mean, but it's probably his best option to go back there. And look, the Dragons could probably use a young half and probably someone's going to be more settled. And like I said, pull the pin on Hunt and say, you're on this much money, you're playing where I want to play you. I'm not a cat.
Yeah, I think Troy's mentioned it a bit in the comments just before, but there's a rumor coming out about the Titans making a play for Hunt. I don't know how they can do that at the moment. He's still on contract for 2 years, but there's been a lot of whispers around. I think Tallis is one of their board members or something, or Merch, who knows what he does there at the club. But every time I've heard him talk about it lately, it's sort of he's hinting towards the fact that they're wanting Hunt to go up there and quickly form a combination with Foran to, I know they were not going to win a comp, but maybe at least make the 8 for the first time in a while. Last couple of questions. National Sports Loaded have come in late. I appreciate this, mate. You're making us do some overtime, but do you reckon that Moses will step up? Oh, we've already done that one, so
yes, go the bottom one. Go the bottom one. Oh, that one, yeah.
Hang on, we'll go this one first. We're all over the shop. Do you guys reckon that Matt Burton should have been picked for 14, your utility, or are you happy with Robson? We stated earlier, I think most of us said at least game 1 he would have been our 14, and then probably moving forward for the series. He's very unlucky to miss out. Robson, for mine, should have been picked for game 1 if they were going with Appy, because Appy hasn't even played 80 minutes all year, and they expect him to do it in an Origin arena where we clearly seen for the last 20, 25 minutes he was gassed. Damien Cook can play 80, 90 minutes.
Did you guys know, sorry to interrupt, did you guys know that Damien Cook was a beach sprinter?
No, I didn't. I didn't.
Okay.
He's fit as.
Sorry, Gary, did you
On
know
the
that?
sand? On the sand?
Yeah, a beach sprinter. Yeah. Tell everyone you know.
What about the dad Flanagan? Will he take the Dragons to the top 8 in a couple of years, or is the border still in the way to prevent the success? Or the board, sorry, still in the way to prevent the success? One thing I say about the Dragons is their roster isn't as bad as what a lot of the other teams in that bottom 9 have. So it's not as bad of a job to take on that a lot of people think in terms of the squad. Now, and as what the posters said, the board's the issue. If Flanagan can get them away and make them just focus on what board crap focuses on, they're a chance to do something, because they've got enough cattle for mine to do a job. We've seen them in glimpses show some form. Jez, can they be a top 8 sneaky next year?
They're always thereabouts, the Dragons, aren't they? They're always within that mix, just inside or outside of the top 8. So, look, if the board stay out of it and Flanagan can actually coach the team, then I don't see why not. I know a couple of mad Dragon supporters that would like to hear that as well, but yeah, I think they definitely can be a top 8 team. I don't think they'll be pushing top 4 or top 6 even, but they're definitely one of those ones that will drop in and out for the next couple of years until something sticks.
Ads, do you think they can be a top 8?
No.
He doesn't like it.
They'll peak in April. Their fans will think they're going to win the comp and they'll choke again. But I'm not a big fan of Flanagan as a coach. I know he's won a comp. I don't think he's a proven coach. That comp that they won at Cronulla, we all could have coached that Cronulla team too. They just had the perfect combination of youth and experience and a little bit of peptides on the side. So I don't actually think he's a proven coach. And, you know, I've said this before, every time a coach gets floated around, someone's going to get fired, the name Flanagan pops up. There's been a reason he's been overlooked for so many times. The Dragons are desperate. He wasn't their first choice. He wasn't their second choice. He was their only choice in the end. So they've given him the reins. I'll say for Flanagan, I hope – he seems like a really nice guy. So I hope they stick with him and I hope they give him a chance to rebuild, because they're in a situation that Parramatta are in and Newcastle went through those wooden spoon years where they just couldn't stick to a coach. And every time you fire a coach, you start again. And it's 2 to 3 years before you get success. So no, they won't make the 8 next year.
Last question, and we'll wrap it up. Jake Averillo, does he stay with the Dogs or leave? Now, we've seen last week it came out that the Dogs have given Avarillo and I've had a mental blank on the other centre that they've got there, Alamotti, permission to leave the club and seek other offers. So do we see ads? Which one do they choose, end up leaving, and where would, if it's Avarillo, where can you see it? I'd love it at Para.
I'd take either of them. It's a hard one
Yeah.
because they spent money on Stephen Crichton they probably didn't need to spend. But Stephen Crichton's great attackingly, but defensively, I think he's one of the worst centres in the game, and he has been for years. So
he's gone there for fullback, though. That's the interesting thing, is that they're going to make their centres weaker.
Addo Carr was going there for fullback as well.
Yeah.
How many fullbacks have they signed? I think he'll play in the centres, Crichton, because there's a reason they're obviously looking to get rid of one of these players. It's a hard one. Avarillo, he's quick. He's got that turn of speed and can just break open a game. There's Alamotti. He's a kid. What is he, 19, 20? He's a big boy. I think his future probably lies in the second row anyway. I don't know.
He's a little bit like Penasini. He's giving me that little Penasini vibes, Alamotti. No, I think Penasini's a better player, but I just think early on he's got that. I think we've seen Penasini start slower, but he's now getting to that stage.
You know who he reminds me of? Tony Williams. When Tony Williams first came in the grade and played on the wing. So he's got a lot. They've both got a lot of potential. So they've got an interesting choice to make. But I think Gus needs to stick to his 10-year plan there and start back in their juniors instead of trying to sign players.
Even like Macati, like he started in the centres as well, ended up in the middle.
Yeah.
So you're right. I'd take Aver any day of the week at the Knights. We have the ever inconsistent Bradman Best, who keeps getting turned sideways. So
he's got sick tat.
When he's on, he's on. He does. He's got thick tat.
Yeah.
And thick tree trunk legs. When Best plays well, he plays really well, but he
loves Bali.
Rocks really when they do turn out. So maybe I'd take one.
That's it, guys. And just before Jez ducks underwater, he's about to go for a swim or under a tunnel or something. But that's us. That's our quota done. I don't want to take over. I appreciate everyone watching tonight. In and out. It's a great episode. It always is. I thought no footy tonight. Great way to just talk some footy and deal with all the issues at the game at the moment. But yeah, thank you, Jez. And I have my feelings, Jez, we're going to see a bit more of. I love chatting footy with Jez. It's great. Even though he's a Newcastle supporter. Say hello to the uncles. Please get him talking again. I like when they're on the show together. It's fantastic when they're together. Ads, thanks, mate. If you see him, I think you'll be at the ground on the weekend, won't you?
Yeah, I'll be there.
Yeah, give him a hi. He loves it. Go ask for a photo or a signature of Ads. He loves it.
I know what you do and don't.
special weekend for Ads. But thanks, guys. Thanks for all the support. We love it. Goodbye.